We can have a nice break. Whoop, whoop. Good afternoon. Today is Wednesday, February 4th. The time is now 3 p.m. I'm going to call this council work session to order. The first item on our agenda is clearing confusion and setting the facts straight. We do not have any responses to the last meeting, so that will take us into visitor comment. So now is the time for visitor comments. The visitor comment period is an essential part of local government meetings. Please address your comments to the mayor first. The city council will take all input into consideration. Please limit your share to 3 minutes. In observance of Oregon open meeting laws, this isn't a time for dialogue, but rather a time for us to listen to you. Responses to visitors' comments, if needed, will be published in the next city council regular session packet. Please provide contact information on the sign-in sheet in the back of the room in case staff need to clarify any questions with you. And when you come up, please state your name for the record. And with that, we will take first visitor comment, again, 3 minutes or less, please. Don't all race.
My name is Richard Mason. I'm a 20-year resident of the city, primarily the waterfront district. The side-by-side ordinance, my opinion, it's an 80-20 situation to where this thing is going to be put in place for a few. I see it as being a logistical administrative nightmare. Just to appease a few people. I don't really have that big of a dog in the fight, but I have seen issues like this come up in the city. We got bigger fish to fry, is all I gotta say. And that's my opinion.
Thank you. Next public comment.
Hi, my name's Robin Tusky. Good afternoon, council. I'd like to reiterate my opposition to the proposed side-by-side ordinance. I think it will make our community extremely unsafe. I think it is self-serving to one person on the council and a small group of her friends that own ATVs. City of St. Helens Resolution 1509, Section 1 states, in quotes, the city's powers and resources are used for the benefit of the public rather than any official's personal benefit, end quote. I understand the purpose and fun they provide on a private rural property. I believe our streets should be trafficked with automobiles, motorcycles, bicycles. Our police chief told us last meeting the only place to cross the highway was at Gable Road. Gable Road and Highway 30 is a very busy intersection with the city's two largest retailers on both sides. It's a school zone. It's an intersection that has protected left turns in every direction. It's an intersection that is dense in housing and heavy pedestrian traffic. I urge you to vote independently and for the safety of our citizens and the financial protection of our city on this proposal. Secondly, I would like to say I really resent my name being used in a slanderous manner, accused of causing any cost to the city. It is a lie. The only reason the city has incurred expense is because the city is not producing the records on a public request. That is a battle you all have chosen to fight. Producing the records would cost you nothing. Release the band records. I deeply resent the mayor's theme that she is painting for our city during the public meetings and on our social media to slander our community, our schools, our businesses, and our citizens. I love this town. It's why we moved back. I love the beauty here. I love my friends here. I love the small businesses, the owners, and the shopkeepers. We headed up to the farm on the roof last night, A+ evening. I urge you and count on each and every one of you Counselors to think and vote independently. I do hear it happening sometimes. I'm very grateful for it. Perhaps the justice that needs to happen here is new leadership that serves the public. And thirdly, I believe we knew there were issues in the contract with the Millard Road property. It appears we were correct. Can we please get a new documented RFP out for a real estate contract and get that one back on the market? We need the money, not a levy. Thank you.
Next public comment, please.
Okay, Steve Toskey, City of St. Helens. So I'm coming to discuss Resolution 1509, which is about the ethics of that rules you as public officials. And it's a law that was adopted on June 17, 2009. Keith Locke, Doug Morton, Martin Barlow, and approved by the mayor. And there are a number of things that I think the people are looking for from the city council. As far as you're resolutely trying to move our city forward in the proper direction. There's a few things about trust. Purpose of the city government is to serve the public. City officials treat their office as a public trust. City officials promote public respect by avoiding even the appearance of impropriety. Policymakers place long-term benefit to the public as a whole above all other considerations, including concerns of important individuals, special interests, like our side-by-side ordinance. Do we really need a bunch of side-by-sides crowding through Gable Road? It's a special interest trying to get their businesses and their vehicles on the road. They're dangerous. There's also individual interests involved. What's really in the best interest of us in St. Helens, with where we already are getting more crowded streets all the time? Whistleblowing is appropriate on unlawful or improper actions. The band report revealed significant corruption within our police department. We're talking about people who stopped hiring. The city council and the budget division voted for a 25% increase in police pay in the calendar year 2024. 6 months later, Dylan Gaston from 4 million to 6 million. 6 months later, Dylan Gaston and another guy from the police department who's no longer there anymore said we want a vote of no confidence against Scholl and John Walsh. These people have been getting pay increase after pay increase after pay increase. And then they interfered with our government operations by asking for more money when they were purposefully not hiring people. And our mayor knew it. And they struck during the election. So when it comes time to thinking about should we be adjusting our budget or should we be asking for a levy, we need to be asking ourselves, are we managing our money correctly?
Time's up.
And when I hear that our chief of police
Your time is up.
has allowed
Mr. Thomas,
pounding overtime,
your time is up right now.
I just want to let you guys know,
Your time is up.
let's wait until after the budget committee meeting
Mr. Toskey.
doing any levies.
In Toskey, your time is up.
Ethics, Mayor.
Sit down.
Ethics, Mayor.
You're a lawyer. You should probably realize that. Go sit down. Your time is up. Next public comment, please.
Well, I could read more of them.
Next public comment, please. Sit down, Mr. Toskey.
Ethics, Mayor.
Sit down or you're disrupting the meeting right now.
I have
Sit
no
down.
trouble with it.
Sit down.
Where's the party? Gee, did I too early?
Hey, Counselor Hubbard, welcome to the party.
Tammy Magra, I just want to make a comment. Miss Mayor, when the public's up here addressing the council, whether you like what they have to say or not, quit being so rude as to flipping your head around like a turkey and laughing at them. That's disrespectful, it's rude, and as mayor, you should have more couth and manners about you than that. And I would like to give the rest of my time to Steve Toskey.
Okay.
Normally,
Welcome.
is Ashley on the line?
Yes.
Ashley, do we normally permit that?
Thousands of time.
Hey, Ashley, are you on the line?
Yeah, hello, Mayor and councilors. I am on the line. It is okay for a citizen to give their time to an additional person. So Mr. Toskey can have the remainder of Ms. Magra's time.
Thank you, Ashley, for clarifying.
I would like that to go back to 2:50 because I seen it when I got up. 2 minutes and 50 seconds left. Yes, no, don't pray, ask God, he's not here.
It actually 2:30, but whatever.
Thank you, Adam.
That don't matter.
Lady, I needed that.
So I appreciate the additional time. And I think it's important when we're talking about the people's money, that we make sure that we are bringing forward legal issues and asking for money in the appropriate climate. I don't think that we're managing the money as well as we should be. And those are hard questions that need to be asked during the budget committee meetings. Our mayor said that she had an actual conflict of interest during the last budget cycle. She continues to have an actual conflict of interest, and her involvement with the police is something that is really putting our city in a bind and is causing a lot of trouble. When we're talking about the shame that has been brought upon our citizens by the police strike, AKA going off a 24-hour coverage during the election, that brought shame to our city. And that was done for a purpose. And now we're talking about, oh, we need more budget to investigate more things, and we're doing overtime to investigate more things. It's the same old song with a few new lines. So I'm asking you, our counselors, to number one, consider censuring the mayor and having her get out of the police business and just stop talking about it and allow one of you counselors or the council president to take over these discussions. I thought we did a fine job with this in the budget committee with her not involved. And so if we're really talking about money, we should be talking about how do we manage our money? And that should be done in the context of the budget committee meetings that are about to be coming up in May. I don't think we should be going forward with a levy right now. And we should be sitting down and figuring out how are we spending our money? How do we control the spending? Thank you for your time. And I got a minute left. I know your time is short, but I will say this. I think what people are looking for is for you guys to be stepping up and saying, we have these ethical rules. And when one of us is violating them, we need to do something about it. Because it is harming us as a community. It is harming us in the eyes of the state. We are being shamed for no reason at all. We are proud people, we are good people, and we should not be having our good name dragged through the mud by people and their personal agendas. Thank you.
Next public comment.
I'm Lance Tillotson. I just came over for the side-by-side deal and I have a couple of them and
Last name, sorry.
Tillotson, Tillotson.
Sorry.
And I'm kind of pro it because, well, we have all the lights, horn, everything, you know, to be legal on the road. And mine, I even have a license plate on them, but it just makes it convenient, honestly, to run up to Polaris and get my service done. And in the summer, it's just kind of nice. And I don't think people would be wild on them personally. I mean, what I see is Camaros lighting it up at the four-way up here and just people having, I'm up there all the time. And they're covering their ears and everything else because people are lighting up their tires, revving extremely loud cars. I mean, loud, like no side-by-side ever would be. And it just happens all the time. But yeah, I'm pro that. I don't know if there's some hidden cost or something. I mean, we all have insurance because, well, they're kind of like a car, you know, and they run under the same principles. They got power steering, great brakes. Anyhow, and not like we're asking to go down the highway, but I really appreciate the city and thank you for your time. I gotta go to work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next public comment, please.
So again, owe John an apology. Kind of forgot that. I didn't listen to your latest podcast, but I've heard about it. Where you are talking to Matt Brown, who has an NDA with the city. It's not with you, but it is with the city, and you're violating it blatantly. And all of you were here, I believe, when that was signed. You know about it, you are aware of it, and it's your job to enforce it. This mayor does need to be censured. She is promoting the conversation with an employee, former employee, who was specifically prohibited from speaking about issues of tourism, and your mayor is promoting that. She's also continuing to throw your city administrator under the bus, which she's done multiple times and did before, and is continuing to do that now. She owes John an apology. She owes John an apology for what she said then, what she said on her little podcast, and that she's violating the city, and you need to enforce that. I'm also totally opposed to the 911 that you have on your list to approve. They have $4 million. You're here tonight to consider an option to put $34 to $35 on our water bill to balance your budget. 911 is sitting there with a $4 million surplus. When our citizens are looking at these increases or a property tax levy, how are you going to justify the fact that 911 sits there with $4 million? I also want to talk about the alien. I don't know what John is going to say about it, but I do know that whatever he tells you, he doesn't know about the alien. Sorry, you weren't there. So whatever you think that you do or do not know about the alien, you don't. You didn't talk to me. I'm the person that ran it. I'm the person that spent the hours to do it. So if you want to know about the alien, probably need to have a conversation with me. And I remember when and of course, it's going to just be surplus property along with everything else that Treadway can't figure out how to use. Likewise, you have the rec center. We had to have 2 rec centers. You bought it, we needed 2. Suddenly, now we have surplus property we don't need. That is ridiculous. You buy property and then say, oh, it's just surplus. We're going to spend it. And now we're going to just get rid of it. It is absolutely ridiculous that you continue to invest in this way and get rid of property that you just get rid of and then don't know what to do with it.
Next public comment, please. Oh, wait,
I can live in the house.
might be wrong. Gosh. Does anybody have another public comment?
Adam St. Pierre. Actually, I wasn't gonna say anything, but when I'm getting a lecture on ethics from Stephen Toshke, making us look like horses' asses in the eyes of the state and stuff like that, I think that's the primary reason. But ethics, let's go back to the budget meetings last year, specifically asking, how much the discussion came up about the WANA account and what the money was. And Steve was like, no, we really should talk about it when, Lou was said something to the effect of, do we have access to that money or not? And, it was decided amongst the committee that it shouldn't be talked about, but yet Steve kept going there. And that was probably for personal interest. Because I hear rumor he's now, representing a client suing the city. I think he's probably doing it on more than one occasion. I just don't have the proof of it yet. It's all hearsay and rumor. But ethics, I don't think that's very ethical, very moral to ask a specific question. It was brought up at the time that it was probably not right to be done, because I think it was Jessica Chilton who said, are we actually recording this during that conversation? So it wasn't like it was a hidden thing. But when you have, the question of ethics and morals, and you have somebody who just wants to grandstand as he did today, give me that extra 2 minutes so I can grandstand a little bit more. I think that there really should be some looking at ethics. Maybe the Oregon Ethics Board should look into whether he has a direct conflict of interest on the budget committee, since he is suing the city, for multiple things. I think he has personal interests there that need to be addressed. And I think the Oregon Ethics should look into that. And, personally, as a member of the, law, you would think he would just, recuse himself because he would know it. But I guess that comes back to morals. So thank you for your time.
Next public comment?
Steve Topaz. We got a mess here. Let's go back to how the agenda goes and what it says. A number of meetings ago, I asked a question, which was recorded. At the next meeting, it was noted that there were no answers to be given because there were no questions, and yet the agenda showed that Mr. Topaz had indeed asked a question. Now, this meeting, we have no recorded minutes, we have no answers, and yet I did ask a question. So we have a problem with our agenda. Now, a number of people before and today have made citizens' comments. And we will find out that nothing will be done is because either the council has a secret meeting where they discuss what's been given to them, or they don't hold a meeting at all, and somebody then make something up to tell the community this is what was said, wasn't said, these are the questions. We also have a problem of freedom of speech. We have a 3-minute limit. We used to have a 5-minute limit. Freedom of speech, according to the federal rules, no time limit, no use of word limit. We had a problem, and this is now a picture of St. Helens. We had a gentleman a few weeks ago discussed some of the things he found wrong with the school system at a school board meeting. And he was very heavily criticized for the words he used in the town. In fact, he then was barred from going to any school property. It definitely says that you cannot punish somebody for freedom of speech, and yet we do. We have another thing in the agenda. It says executive session. If there's an executive session, there's supposed to be minimal minutes of the meeting. If there's an executive session posted and nothing was done, the minute should read no executive session held. We're not doing anything close to the truth. We have a council that in our minutes will say was here that doesn't listen. And the first question is maybe they're too stupid to understand. And that's not the case. They told well, you can't interchange with people. Well, I've given talks in Asia, in Europe, in this country, from third graders to great seminars of professors. And people always ask me, did you mean this or that? They didn't say whether it was right or wrong. They wanted clarification. And I've never been asked for clarification here, nor have any of the other people making presentations. We need people from outside this community to invest. And everything that's going out says we don't want anybody, even our own people, to be involved. So I think, and the public of Oregon right now is bad, and we're at the worst end. We ought to change it. And I think a number of the comments that people have made today about the ethics and all, right on.
Thank you, Steve. Next public comment?
Tina Curry, and I am yielding my time to Robin Sharp.
I just want to comment about very rude and, as I say, defamatory stuff that one person keeps saying about my husband. And the budget meeting last year, and I sat through them both, and I mean, I believe he's giving good counsel to stop talking about certain things that maybe were in litigation or are off boards to the. He has nothing but the best interests of the city and the citizens and the reputation and the people of this town. So for someone to come up here who doesn't even live in this town and call him cast of characters. Now we're all in this cast of character thing, and he literally gets up here and says, rumor has it, and then he states it like it's fact. So I just find it insulting, and I know we probably have to listen to anybody that comes through the door, but given another chance, I just want to defend his reputation and know that he's fighting for the citizens of this city. And it's a hard fight, but he's thick-skinned.
Next public comment. We have anybody online, Kathy? All right, so that moves us into, we have number 2. Is Jeremy Hypes here? Are you there? You want to come up, Jeremy? So we have request from 911 Communications District for support of local option levy on May ballot. Executive Director Jeremy Hypes.
Yes, and let me be clear, I am here in my in an official capacity as executive director. So I personally cannot ask for your support. What I'm here for is to state some facts, the position that we're at, and then it's up to you guys to decide how you go from there. But I'm open to questions as they come up also. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out and ask. So the May on the May ballot, we are looking for a operations levy for 5 years. It is 29 cents per thousand of assessed property value over the 5-year period of time. That's a total of $10,914,819 for the district. Just to kind of give you some background, I have 26 years of experience in the 911 industry. I've only been in this community for 5 months now. I have relocated. I do live in the city of St. Helens, so I am invested in this community. I'm also invested in my organization. So in 26 years, I've done significant different roles in 911, from line level staff for the majority of that period of time to upward management movement. My most recent post was going to be in Clatsop County at the city of Astoria, where we underwent a revitalization of the radio project there, as well as staffing woes. Some of the regular occurrences within 911 at this point in time, and certainly some of the similar circumstances we're in now here at the district. When I was hired, I was given some very clear goals of intention of staffing, stability, and the radio system. Stability did include funding sources, finding a way to balance our budget, make us more responsive to the community's needs, and be more transparent. In 5 months, I can honestly say that it's been slow going because we got a lot of stuff going on. There's been a learning curve, but there is progress being made. Just yesterday, I don't know if you guys saw the press release, we started some significant investigation on our system. We're taking down each one of our radio sites throughout the county for a day at a time, approximately 6 hours to test every piece of equipment on each one of those towers. This report that I will get from the company at the end will clearly state all the equipment, how it tested. Is it working? Is it broken? Does it need to be replaced? So we can get a real clear sign of what needs to happen to stabilize this system. Don't get me wrong, way more needs to happen. This system can't just be stabilized, it needs to be replaced. But what I can do right now with the money that I have and the capabilities at my fingertips is to stabilize the system to make it more responsive for our first responders, which also makes them more responsive to you guys as the citizens. So once I get this report back, I'm going to take it to my advisory committee, which is made up of the heads of all the first responder agencies in the county, as well as Public Works and some other entities. I'm going to take a clear plan of this is what I can do for this amount of money. This is plan 2. What do you think about this? Or this is plan 3. Which suits your guys' needs best? Here's the expert to test it, to talk to you guys about what this means and what it could potentially do for your radio. Once I get that report from them, their sign off on one of those projects, that project will then be taken to the board, and I will ask the board to release those funds for me to immediately start work. This isn't an easy process. It's not a quick process. It takes time, but we are well beyond the life expectancy of this system, and this should have been undertaken, quite honestly, years ago. I'm dealt the cards that I have. I can't speak for the people before me in this position or the board before me, and it wouldn't be appropriate for me to do so. All I can do is speak from where I'm at now and where I'm planning to take this organization and what I can do. The opposition has talked about some of the reserve funds that we have. We do have reserve funds. We have a facilities reserve fund, which is destined as a safety, a savings mechanism for us to hold money to upgrade the facilities as need be. Our building is old. We just put a roof on the building that cost us some money. Those services, though we can transfer funds out of that, that's also our safety. I mean, right now with the times we're all looking at, the financial situation we're all in, we have to be prepared to what happens if this if we don't get a levy? Where does this money go? What do I need to survive? And then we also have the Equipment Reserve Fund, both of which have been established since 1991. And the Equipment Reserve Fund is exactly the same thing. It's a savings account for the system. Back in 2024, there was a proposal made to replace this system with a down payment that was going to be made from that reserve fund. And then contingency payments each year for, I think it was 5 years. Sorry, I'm kind of shooting off my head on how long that contract was for. But that fell apart due to the levy not passing. Opposition on the levy caused that money not to be available for them to be able to guarantee that contract payment. So Motorola backed out. That was the last chance, most recent chance we had to replace the system completely. I'd like to say that in the near future, we can, do that again, but quite honestly, at this point, 5 months in, I don't have any guarantees on what this looks like in the long term. I wish I could offer you guys some more. I just can't speak to that at this point. The operations levy is a choice versus a bond purely on the basis of some of this operations levy does also fund some of my other budget. This isn't all completely for radio work. I would love to say I could dedicate it all to radio work, but I got other bills to pay. I got staff to pay. I got overtime costs. For the first time in 20+ years, we're within 3.5 people from full staffed, which is a huge miracle and a big step in the right direction for us and our responsiveness to the community and to our first responders. But we're getting close to that point. And that's one of the first big pieces of stability. What I need to do now is figure out how to get this radio system where it needs to be. So I just wanted to keep it short and sweet. This is really more of if you have questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer what I can. I just wanted to reach out and share with you, this is going to be on the ballot and some of the facts that we're facing going forth. I'm ultimately, if you guys have questions today, I can answer them. If you'd like me to come back at a later date, please let me know. I'm more than happy to come back and answer some more questions. Phone calls, emails, I'm open to your guys' needs. This is a community project, even though it is the district that wants to hold it up. It really is ultimately responsible to the whole community, and your buy-in and the individual citizens' buy-ins are what's going to make the difference on this successful project.
Anybody have any questions? Do you have any questions? I have some questions.
Yes.
So how close, I know that you're, having each one of these, units looked at to see where any repairs are needed, but ultimately the whole system needs to be replaced. How close are we to a fatal flaw error that is catastrophic where our public, service officials, whether it's, fire, medical, whatever, are not going to have radio in the time of essence?
To be honest with you, it could be really kind of any day. This system is 30 years old. This is the same system I started using 30 years ago when I was a brand new dispatcher in this industry. There's been changes, there's been modifications, there's been some Band-Aids, and quite frankly, we're in that Band-Aid phase. I'm buying old equipment from other organizations just because right now some of that equipment can only be found on places like eBay, and those prices are just going up. So I'm trying to buy them now, get them in storage, have them available to us. So should we have a flaw, we can replace it. But those parts are getting farther and fewer between. The knowledge of the systems getting farther and fewer between. The techs that built these kind of systems are all at retirement age and moving on. Finding a company that can provide that kind of knowledge is getting harder. So we're really kind of at that break point. And it's the reality of the situation. I hate to have to put us in that position, and certainly our first responders, but it's the reality that we're facing.
Yeah, and I appreciate the fact that you weren't here prior, right? It is frustrating from a citizen standpoint, and somebody that also cares about public safety for the fact that, we actually have a phase out plan when it comes to equipment, for the fact that these are 30 years old and we're looking at this right now where we could have a catastrophic situation is really unfortunate. If you're in construction using gas monitors for people getting in confined spaces, right, that could kill them, you are looking at phasing out equipment. It only lasts for so long. So it's really unfortunate that the citizens have been paying money to manage this. And in my personal opinion on what I know right now is that it hasn't been managed, and that's unfortunate. It doesn't take away the fact that we need could be a difference between life and death for not only citizens, but also for our public servants. I also have another question. There has been rumblings, and I'm not a subject matter expert on this at all. This is a very diverse topic,
Right,
with a lot of tentacles, and a lot of minutia that goes with it. But is there talks of either 911 not, having a special district and it being covered by the sheriff's office. Because that is another concern I have, is that if we don't have a plan on where we're putting money, then like that's just putting money to something that we don't have a structured plan of what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, and I can speak from my position. I can't obviously speak for my board and where they sit on this, but there has been conversation started about the county or the sheriff's office stepping forward to potentially take control of the system as a collaborative effort for all the user agencies in the county, all having buy-in on that agreement.
What would that do financially?
Financially, right now, the system as it stands, depending on how the contract lays out and how it's played. Certainly, the standard 190 in the 911 industry is to have a user fee buy-in on that system. Now, that's based on users' usage. So each agency, the more you use, the more calls you get, the more you pay, which would also make us one of the payers of that system. And us being the primary payer on the system, we'd be probably most likely carrying the heaviest load out of our budget.
So is that like an average of calls per service, or is that like based on the population?
So
Like,
basically what we take is the total number of calls for the year, and then we figure out what your individual agency's usage is and use that to figure out what the percentage of the usage is and then what that per call fee is for each agency. And that would be shared amongst all fire districts, police departments, and any user, including potentially public works and so on, if they wanted to stay on the system. But it would be a user based with a user board controlling that organization. Though the document says the county would be the owner, that it would be some predetermined by contract who it is who has those seats and who decides that decision making.
I think it's vitally important. I appreciate the fact that you're here. I think that we need as a council to give a platform for people that are like, pro measure or levy, and then also in opposition, because we don't have any media out here anymore besides the spotlight, right? And so it gives them an opportunity to learn what's going on versus just in writing or on social media or a flyer. So I appreciate you being here. There is a possibility that, maybe have you come back and get a little more information that we can educate the citizens on what we're looking at.
Anytime you're interested, please let me know. I'll make myself available. Again, as a district, I'm not just responsible to my board, I'm responsible to the citizens and the other agencies and cities in that community. So.
And also we do have obviously Tyler that's going to come up, and
Yeah.
it's because he was in opposition of this. And I think it's equally as important to understand why somebody on the member.
I don't disagree whatsoever.
To get a perspective. But if you are still going to be here, and there's something that's burning after the presentation that you feel like you want to, add, then, we'll have you jump back up here. We don't have a lot of time to spend on it. Tyler's long, we're gonna keep under 15 minutes as possible, but we appreciate you being here. And
Oh, absolutely.
being in this position 5 months ago and doing what you can.
Absolutely. I'm available at any time, and yes, Tyler, the seat is yours, sir. Thank you.
I mean, we could have just had a debate up here, I suppose.
I'd rather not.
Do that.
It's been very helpful. Can say that.
So it's like the time, Tyler. It's not as it's more exciting, I'm sure, than Scapa City Councils. But thank you for being here.
I'll take your word for it. I have a sinus cold, so please bear with me. So first I want to start off by saying that there's been recent conversations between Sheriff Pixley and Mr. Hypes, who, as you know, is the new director of 911. And there may be some common ground to move forward. And so when I bring forward all these historical concerns that have occurred, there might be a path forward that everybody can agree on. But what I'm looking to do, and the reason that I currently oppose this, is because historically, as we'll see in the presentation, there's been a significant amount of misuse of funds to the extent of millions of dollars. And as an elected official myself, I think that it's our responsibility to make sure that we're definitely not supporting something that has potential for, patterns of abuse that we're seeing, but also, of course, we wouldn't do that in our own organization either. I think that city councils are very meticulous about how they go about approving and supporting different things. It's been my experience that for whatever reason, the special districts don't put as much care into that for some reason, and I don't know why.
To be clear, though, you're not here as a city council member. You're here as a board member for 911. Is that
Right, well, so I'm gonna cover that here in just a minute when we get started. I just wanted to start out with that just prefacing that there might be a path forward that with some guardrails that if we get terms in place, hopefully everybody can support this. Kathy, can you go? Oh, there you go. You're on it. Thank you. Okay, so just my short resume really quick. I think you guys know, but for the record, so I was elected to Scappoose City Council in 2019. I served as a council president for the last 3 years. I was elected to the 911 Board of Directors in the May 2025. There's the 5 is missing off of that 202 there, sorry. And the only reason I'm putting this percentage here, 61.36% of votes over a 22-year incumbent, is because I think that it illustrates that people want change. There's been a lot of education about all the different issues at the 911 district, and I think this illustrates that people want change. They want answers. They want more accountability. Each of the Scappoose 6 city councilors, endorsed me for the 901 district board, and the mayor also endorsed me. I've attended every C901 CD board meeting since about 2015, and I've attended about every advisory committee meeting as well. Jen, to your point, or Mayor Massey, sorry, housekeeping item. So the presentation and statements during or related to this presentation are my individual opinions and statements and do not reflect the opinion or position of any government entity, associated personnel, or elected officials. And I want to make clear too that I support the staff of 911. Their employees they're doing what they have to work with. So I support them. I appreciate them. I don't think anybody that's given any opposition to the 911 levy and some of the things that the governing body is doing dismisses the hard work and the challenging job that the folks at 911, the actual staff, are doing. My problems are mostly with the governing body and the decisions that, or lack of decisions, that the government body has done historically. So just for context, and again, for the record, so why are we here? What's the issue? So the 901 district is asking for 29 cents per assessed 1,000 on your property taxes. And it's being referred to as an option levy. Now, the 29 cents is addition to the permanent rate that the 901 district receives regardless, which is 25.54 cents per assessed 1,000. They also have some other revenue streams that we'll talk about here in a moment. Here's a big thing for me. So the 901 district has not presented any specific calculation showing why there's a need or how the 29 cents per assessed 1,000 they collect will be used. The details are a mystery, and none of the board members asked that. So I think one of the very foundational things I know as a city councilor, what I would be asking is, how do we arrive at this number? Show me why we need 29 cents per assessed 1,000. There's been no data. There's been no itemized calculations as to how we reach this 29 cents mystery number. C901's statements about how much the 901 district uses overall in the annual budget is made up from, or about the option levy, or how much comes from the option levy, is based on full staffing. So historically, the 901 center has been, for call takers and dispatchers, has been staffed, or funded for 17 FTEs, but they've never really gotten past, as Jeremy kind of talked about a little bit, 12 or so, but yet then they say, okay, well, we have a 5-second or under 5-second call answer volume. Well, we all know here that staffing or call volume and workload usually dictate staffing. So it brings up another question that we haven't even had a discussion about, is why do we need 17 dispatchers if we're having an under 5-second call time? Because it's not a staffing issue. Are we bloating the staffing, and for what reason? Because I know that St. Helens PD needs officers. I know that Scappoose PD needs officers. So why are we stacking so much in one agency? Because it's not going to be good for the other agencies who also need funding for their public safety as well. As a board member, and why I was asked to be here today, I did vote no. And I, on the record, told them, I've been saying for the last 2 years that the way to get voter support and the way to get elected official support from the other governing bodies is to show change. All these different concerns that have surfaced over the last several years, show us what's changed, show the people what's changed, and nothing has changed. And then all of a sudden, we're getting all this information and this participation in these sort of settings because they want money. That's the wrong way to go about it. You don't come and start doing things when you want money. You have to consistently do them and show the public that you care about them and their tax dollars. So most recent history of the 901 option levy. So both and Central Committee and Democrat Committee boards came together for bipartisan opposition to the last two levies 901 requested. These two levies are for the same tax rate and purpose. There's no change. It was 29 cents, and the reason for the levy was the same back then it is now. So there's no material change there at all. The Republican Central Committee already voted to oppose the levy on the May 2026 ballot. And last night, the Democrat Central Committee voted 9-0 for opposition as well. So now again, the Republican Central Committee and the Democrat Central Committee are both opposed to the May ballot based on what they've heard and what they. Again, I offer what has changed since the voters said no in 2024. Because you would think that if you, I mean, I know on our council, if we needed money and the voter said, no, we're not giving it to you, I would probably sit back and ponder, okay, what do I need to do to get this passed next time? I would put effort into it. I put work into it. None of that has happened. And then here we are, like I just said a few minutes ago, we're close to the levy and they're back here all of a sudden, you know, giving public information or participating in these conversations. So then let's look at the revenues of the 911 budget. So this is directly from the budget document. So the total revenues as they have in the budget document are about 10.5 million. And then below that is the budget variance report that is through December 31st, 2025, which I took from the public record. So Fund 1, I believe that to be the general fund, and then 2, 3, and 4 are those various reserve funds. And if you do the math on this, what I came to is, as it says right above there on the right-hand side, there's about 3.973 million just in reserves currently. So here's the big problem that I have and why I want some assurances before I would support another option levy. And I have all the public records to completely validate all of these different claims. So if anybody wants those, just let me know. I literally have the check clearing the bank for the number 1, for example. So back in 2011, I know this is going back a ways, but they wasted $66,720 on buying a software solution called Radio IP. It goes on the end user's computers and it switches to a signal that's the strongest. They never even bothered to install it, even though the first responders were asking for it. And then they had to come back later and rebuy that licensing again. And I don't know what the cost was to buy that licensing again second time around. In 2012, they hired Mark Pallins, who was a consultant and engineer, and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on him. And Mark was great. Mark did a full assessment, came out with a really good report about everything the 901 district needed to do to improve the radio system, because the complaints we're hearing today, they're not new. They go back to 2012. Nothing's new. It was degrading back then. And so Mark came out with this report with all these things that need to be done. And guess what? 1 or 2 of them got done out of 12 plus different things that they needed to do. And it wasn't because there was no money. They had their option levy then, and they had millions of dollars in reserves then too. Which brings me to my point of why I'm not comfortable approving another option levy, because they have demonstrated continuously for over a decade that even with the funding, they can't get anything done. And no offense to Jeremy, Jeremy's new, but the fact of the matter is we still have the same, functioning board, and we all know how that works. So I hope Jeremy can make progress, but I'm not willing to take that gamble at this point on $10 million of public funds and see that completely wasted like we're going through here. So number 3, they literally bought an iPad for a board member that was retiring and gave that to him for $778. So as part of the recommendations that I talked about earlier related to Mark Pallins, one of the things that came out was they needed to put a radio site up on Piscahome Road behind Scappoose. And sorry. So they wasted $400,000 on that. They spent $400,000 running power and doing some other things. And today it has a fence perimeter with invasive Scotch broom that you can't even walk through. At least last time I checked it was. And that was the way it was for years. So we spent $400,000 then. We didn't do what was recommended for public safety and giving our first responders better radio coverage. But we also spent and wasted $400,000 on that. $925,000 wasted for failure to go out for a competitive bid. I won't read this because you guys have I know I'm kind of short on time here, so.
You have a lot of slides here, Tyler.
I'm sorry, Jen, I'll try to wrap it up. Let me know if you want me to stop. So anyway, all these together is just these examples is about $2 million in waste that I have record. Go ahead, Kathy. Thank you. So we support our first responders. That's what this is all about. And we need a system, we need assurance that is actually going to use the money that the taxpayers want to give for first responder public safety to make them safer. That's what this is all about, public safety and our first responder safety. So on March 31st, 2022, as everybody probably heard about, Sheriff Pixley was in an officer-involved shooting at Grumpy's Towing. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that another officer heard him responding and heard that information and tried to radio and relay information to him while he was en route to that incident, because that officer knew that that person that was on scene was a suspect in a homicide and wanted. So Sheriff Pixley, not knowing that, went in just thinking it was a normal, unwanted subject. And then we know a gun battle took place and the suspect was killed, and it's a miracle that Sheriff Pixley wasn't shot and potentially killed. Now, some of you know about police procedure, and if that information would have come out when you respond, the dispatcher would have instructed those folks to get outside of that building so that everybody's safe. They would have set up a perimeter around that building, and they would have used other tactics to bring that to a peaceful resolution. Now, nobody knows, because nobody has a crystal ball, if that suspect would be dead. That's another topic, but was that really, I think it's safe to assume that if Sheriff Pixley would have had that information, that incident would have unfolded differently. I think that's what we can say. And then again, in July 30th, 2025, another officer-involved shooting took place, and that officer tried to get the shots fired over the radio, and St. Helens PD officers were responding and had no idea that an officer-involved shooting had just occurred. And so imagine if that shooting was still taking place and the suspect wasn't down, and your officers were arriving on scene and had no idea. They thought that it was just a crash until they arrived and looked around, and then there was major confusion, obviously. And all these things have been known. All these things have been known for years. There's been money available to fix them. So why haven't they been fixed? So I just don't have any confidence in giving money without a plan and guarantees. Let's see here. On August 28th, 2025, Sheriff Pixley, SPD Chief Llewellyn, and Chief Smith presented a presentation to the 911 district, pleading for the 911 district to fix these radio issues. And this was, no offense to Mr. Hypes, but these presentations over the last few days is the first time I've heard of any plan, and I'm on the board. So there hasn't been any discussion about a plan. And the other really irritating part is we continue to use the same vendor who rips us off over and over again and who doesn't fix the system. And we will admit openly, the board will admit, the 911 director will admit openly that they have failed to do their job. So why do we keep using them? What I'm trying to say is there's a pattern of practice here that does not give me and should not give any assurance that anything is going to change, because we keep doing the same things over and over and over again, and we're spending millions of dollars of taxpayer funds. Meanwhile, the city of St. Helens, as you definitely know, needs the money just to pay overtime for police. It should be known that the Secretary of State is investigating the 901 district right now for elections law violations that stem back in 2024. And unfortunately, some of the same things that potentially violate the law are occurring again with this election. The Oregon Government Ethics Commission is opening up at least 8 different investigations, and it's relevant to mention here because it does relate to ethics and finance. So those things are coming. That's all I can say on that. More bad decisions, legal problems. Now, you guys probably know about this, and Jen, I think I can wrap it after this if you want me to. So in February 2023, the C901 district banned a Scappoose taxpayer and community member after the taxpayer publicly spoke out against a $35 million proposal to join the Washington County's ratings. Following an interview with Coin6 News, the 901 district issued a no trespass letter to the individual. Upon filing the federal civil rights complaint, the judge immediately issued a temporary injunction against the 901 district while the case progressed. In August 2025, a federal district court judge found the 901 district guilty of civil rights First Amendment violations and entered a permanent injunction against the 901 district. Now, while most of those expenses, legal expenses, attorney fees, and everything, which we all know is really expensive, will likely be covered by the district's insurance company, it's horrendous. It should have never happened. And so now the insurance company, which, premiums do get adjusted, so there will be a repercussion from that. There's going to be at least $1.2 million just in attorney's fees. Now, as you know, this is talking about me. I was the one that was banned for bringing out all these different concerns. I didn't sue for any money. I didn't sue for any damages or anything like that. That wasn't the goal. But I sustained over $850,000 in attorney's fees on that, just trying to get this corrected. So some of the financial concerns continue. So now we have this attorney from Bend who's representing the district as general counsel, billing the district at $495 an hour, who on the check register is billing for driving time. It specifically says that on some of the check registers that I looked at. Why he needs to be in person, I have no idea. He's not even a government law attorney. He's a building HOA attorney. He has no experience in public entity law. It's ridiculous. As where I've tried to get the board to go to, you know, a legal service provider that actually, you know, covers public entity, that practices government entity law, and they're charging like $300-350 an hour now. And I can't get any movement on that. So that's a mystery too. But at the bottom there, you see how much money is being spent on legal, and then they try to blame it on, you know, litigation and legal claim. Well, you guys know that when you're involved in mandatory litigation, you submit the claim to the insurance company, and the insurance company provides defense counsel for that. So engaging in this unnecessary litigation on these legal issues out of the general fund, that's on them. But you can see it's cost the district about 600, and well, it has, I added all the registers up, over $686,000 just since 2022. So what is the solution? Again, as I kind of already covered in the beginning, I think we just need some assurances. There's a plan in motion. It's very early. I think that the sheriff and Jeremy Hypes is discussing a potential situation where maybe the county at least owns and manages the radio system, so it doesn't change anything with the actual 901 district and those operations. They would still have that. But there's a lot of reason why the radio system would be better put under an actual public safety agency. And there's some different thoughts on the funding mechanism too, because I know that's in question, but we can have that discussion separately if that's something you guys want to know about. But they're looking into that to see if that's a solution. Well, that was a lot. Any questions?
Or that you didn't even get to.
Oh, I know.
Mission in itself, though.
Yeah, so anyway, I'm sorry, I don't want to be a negative Nancy, and I want to support our public safety, but it just has to make sense. And I think that's something that, you know, we all agree on. So it doesn't mean that we can't get to a place where I would be supportive of Levy and others that have, you know, previously opposed it. But there just needs to be some assurances. I mean, this much dysfunction over 2 decades, if not more, and the amount of money that's in question. And let's face it, we know that the tax climate in Oregon is going to become more and more difficult for us with the, you know, inflation and everything. So we really do have to be considerate, because our taxpayers only have a piggy bank that's so big. So, you know, we need to be really careful about where we're giving our money and how we're balancing that out.
This does look like it's a good opportunity to improve, though. If we got everything's in place now, hopefully a resolution can come.
I agree. I have great.
We've stepped in the positions, right, where we can't control the historical aspect of where money's been spent, and half the time we're like wondering why it was spent, but the most important thing to me is going forward, what the plan is, and to keep our citizens and more of our law enforcement and public safety officials safe. That is it. That is their lifeline when they're out there. And that can be the matter of life and death. So I'm really hopeful, and I'm going to be very curious on, and I'm not meaning to look over you, I'm looking behind you into the back of the room here. I'm going to be very curious to see what plan there is to remedy this, right?
Yeah, and if I may add one thing just really quick, we really have to get back to a functional board, and the board has to work together, just like, as you guys know, as a council, you have to work together to get anything done. And I will say that unfortunately in Jeremy's employment agreement, the attorney decided to put in a clause that makes it so that only the president can speak to the executive director. I'll read it to you really quick. It says, board communication with director. The board members will respect the policy of non-interference with the executive director's administration, which is essential for the district's orderly and efficient operation and implementation of district policy. Individual board members shall direct any concern to the board president, who will communicate these concerns with legal counsel, which I find really funny that you have to go through legal counsel and drum up billable hours to to talk to the exec. You can't make this stuff up. Who will communicate these concerns to the executive director as necessary, provided the president does not contact a quorum of directors about the same subject. Anyway, it goes on.
We can't control how the board works, right? We
Yeah.
can't control that, but we can control getting the information out and then, really support having a plan in place. But we do appreciate you coming today, both you and Jeremy, and presenting. I think, again, the information is valuable to our citizens. And with that, we appreciate that. Thank you. And on the topic of this, I'm gonna talk to the council.
Okay.
I also want to bring up something for another topic from council, as this came up, right? And thinking about the education piece, not having media and all that stuff, I've taken the stance, just because council has done something historically for years or decades, it doesn't mean that we have to continue doing it the same way going forward. This is our council, this is our time, and we can make the choices, right? And I would like to propose for a work session item in the future on looking at a resolution where council, we can have people come in and give presentation, but I personally do not feel comfortable, and I don't think it's appropriate for council to either signing a resolution to be in support of or not supporting any type of ballot levy measure that's outside of the city of St. Helens. Like, that's a county commissioner thing. I think that we can, as in our own capacity, support something, but no matter what, you're on the wrong side of the fence. Right? And I don't know why we put that on this council to make those decisions. I don't think council should be, signing support for whatever the case is. I think we should give an opportunity for people to come in, give presentations, and allow our citizens to be educated. But for the life of me, I cannot figure out why we put ourselves into the mix of having to represent the entire body of the city of St. Helens and something that is for the county. So I'd like that. Maybe you guys can ponder it and we can look at it in the future. I just don't know why we do it. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Everybody's quiet? Are you guys in support?
Fine with that. That's
Are you
it.
guys in support of, you're always gonna be on the wrong side of the fence of something, right? So isn't it better to provide education and then just don't know why we put ourselves in the position where we're supporting. If we have a blanket statement or resolution that just says that we are not going to, in our capacity as a city council, support or oppose any levy or measure, it's just across the board.
I already voiced my, thoughts to you about that, and the fact that I do believe that we should offer, a place where people can educate and they can learn information, because people do follow and listen to what goes on in our meetings. And so I think it's important that we offer a place where people can just present the information to the citizens, because we don't speak for the citizens of St. Helens. We really don't. We make decisions because they've asked us to do that. But we don't speak to what they should and should not do. That's just not our place.
And half of these things when it comes to the city stuff, we are diving head deep, right? We understand all the dynamics and the minutia, but if you look at this prime discussion right here, there is so many topics that are historically there that we really, without spending copious amounts of time, can't fact check it ourselves. And I just feel like that puts us in a situation where I don't feel like we need to be. So that's just, whether it's been a historical function of this council, I think we should consider whether that's something we want to change going forward. Counselor Sundy, any opinion?
I'm open to
Discussion. Are you open to put it on a work session item that we can discuss a potential resolution? And then we can also get our general counsel to possibly weigh in, because there might be legal aspects of it that we may also not know. Ashley, can you still hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, and I'm happy to take a look at that type of resolution and if there are any risks or things for you to consider.
Thank you. All right. But I do appreciate both Jeremy and Tyler for being here.
I just got one quick topic.
Wait, because we're
I
over.
wanted to say thank you for the opportunity, and anytime I can come back and do further education, please reach out. I would like to make this as a regular occurrence for you guys, as all the rest of the community from my seat. So
That would be
thank
amazing.
you, regardless of whatever happens from here on out. I appreciate it.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much. We would appreciate that. All right, so we'll move into number 3, quarterly reports from city departments, division, finance and municipal court. I reviewed this and I did not have any comments. I love the thorough reports, but did anybody have any comments on the from Gloria or from on the staff reports? I'm done. Counselor Hubbard, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Counselor, okay, so that puts us into the review of the side-by-side ordinance. Ashley, can you take us through that?
Yes, I sure can. Good afternoon, or mayor and councilors. And I apologize, I cannot be there in person with you today. I'm out of town, and the video is not the best quality, so I'm presenting via audio. Can everyone hear me okay?
Kathy is trying to, I think, adjust a little bit. You're kind of echoey, but not bad. So I think we can still hear you very well. It just sounds a little odd, but please proceed forward.
How about now? Is this better?
No, it's the same, but we can still hear you. Go ahead.
I apologize. Well, I will try to make this short. I'm presenting about the Class 4 ATV ordinance, also known as the side-by-side ordinance. And based on interest from the community at the November 18th, 2025 City Council meeting, the City Council voted for city staff to propose the side-by-side ordinance for consideration. At the January 21st, 2026 City Council meeting, a draft ordinance was proposed. Public comments were provided and the council discussed. So as a result of all of that feedback, the Class 4 ATV side-by-side ordinance has been updated and it's in the agenda. There's a clean copy and a red line copy for review. And I'm going to share the updates that have been proposed. So after further consideration, the city ATV permit has been removed. It was determined to be unnecessary and have administrative costs that didn't have any safety benefit. And so by removing the ATV permit, the city does not have the administrative costs and the citizens then do not have to apply and have the regulatory burden. But the Class 4 ATVs are still subject to all of the same safety and regulatory requirements. And violations of those requirements will be can be cited into municipal court. The definition section has been amended. A reference to Class 1, 2, and 3 ATVs has been removed because these terms are defined in state law. I hear an echo now. Can you hear me okay still?
Doing good.
Okay. The definition of streets has been updated for clarity. It excludes Highway 30 as a street that is allowed to be driven on except as provided. The financial responsibility requirements section has been amended, and it includes the specific reference to state law that describes the minimum limits of liability coverage required. It previously referenced the requirements, but now it is just a little bit more express so that a citizen that is trying to find out what those coverage requirements are can go to that statute and find the limits in state law. The safety equipment requirements have been amended to consolidate the safety requirements in one section, and the requirements for a horn, safety roll bar system, and an express prohibition on non-standard lights has been added. At the last council meeting, there was a question, I think, from Councilor Gunderson about whether or not a vehicle could be driven, or a Class 4 ATV could be driven with different lights on it. And there is a restriction in state law about kind of distracting or unsafe lights. And so that reference now has been incorporated into the code so that it's a prohibition to do that. The section related to safety belt requirements was amended. It was not amended in substance, but it was amended to make it more express that the state law, it expressly now includes the language in the state law that applies to safety belt requirements for children. Before it just referenced it. So hopefully that express language can just make it clear that seatbelts are required for children of all ages, and it outlines those requirements. The section related to where Class 4 ATVs can be operated has been amended. There was a discussion at the last council meeting that of where the crossing would be the safest and also allowed under state law. And Gable Road was the recommended option.
Are you still there? Ashley, we can't hear you. You still on? Yeah.
Questions that you may have.
Perfect timing. I know.
Shake your head, yes.
Does anybody have any questions for Ashley?
So we're not permitting them? We're not-
There's no fees and no permit. So after the discussion on administrative burden, there was no reason, and sometimes a win is just a win,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
There are a couple things that I do want to mention. Just, I would say that, I want to reiterate that this was not an ordinance I was actually interested in. This is one that prior to my election that people asked for. There is a huge populace of people apparently that like this. Not for me, don't have a desire to drive one, and there is no personal, I guess, benefit to me on actually having this pass. Like there's zero benefit at all. Like I'm never going to operate one on the city road that I can even imagine. So I wanted to clarify that because when you have people coming out spouting stuff on our resolution 1509, it just doesn't apply. It doesn't exist. It's manifested. I also want to say that, as city council up here, there's a lot of decisions that are made for action items. And I would say that, we could go through and just pass these things and discuss them. And we can kind of do it in a bit of a silence now because the only thing we have is the newspaper spotlight that is around for any type of media. And in this case specifically, I made it a point to put it on every single social media platform that I could think of and publicize it and engage with citizens on their concerns. And I didn't have to do that, right? I didn't have to put myself in the situation to let people know that this ordinance was out there and to answer any questions, because as we know, there is a small subset of people that thrive on misinformation. For me, I want to rectify any misinformation that is out there. There are also really good questions that come up that maybe we as a council should look at when we're talking about these things. Like there was a question about decibels, decibel rating. People have a misunderstanding that these things are going to be loud, like the banshees at the dunes, and, breaking down decibel ratings. And, these decibel ratings on these type of SUV or side-by-sides that will be used in the city, are they equivalent of actually less than using a leaf blower at 110 decibels, at a chainsaw of 125 decibels, right? We should ban fireworks at 140 to 160 decibels. Like the logic is not there when we look at the facts of it, right? Sirens at 120 decibels. So that is a good opportunity to educate people on that these things are not loud. And there's also ORSs. Wrong, Lieutenant, that there's ORSs out there for excessive noise on vehicles that you could be cited. So if people are violating our ordinance, that they're not only going to be cited for our ordinance and fined with no warnings, but they also would be fined with anything related to an ORS, whether it's speeding, noise, lights. So those arguments, I think that they're valid, but then also we've looked at them. I also want to talk about insurance because, there was somebody out there again posting misinformation from their basement in Clascanine that, all this stuff about the city is going to be raising insurance. I would like you to know that I did work with David Welsinko from our insurance to ask him specifically if the city was going to, just for approving these, be increasing insurance rate. That's not true. And it's the same type of liability that if we had allowed a parade here to happen in the city, a third party parade. It's the same liability that you look at. Anybody can sue the city for anything. There is no additional liability based on risk, probability, and severity. Also, that the people that would be operating these are still under the same requirements. There's people that operate vehicles suspended. There's people that operated vehicles under DUI, those type of things. They happen all the time out here, right? So we're not going to ban all cars. The whole fear mongering about that this is going to cause more accidents. I operate on logic. It's not logical at all. And if that was the case, I go back to, we need to ban scooters that pop out of these driveways all over the place. We need to ban motorcycles that have no 4-point harnesses, no seat belts. Like, the logic behind it does not make sense. I think it's just personal agendas. I think that as a mayor, who I was speaking for the people that I gave a commitment to, if we had a surplus of gold bars in this city and I said, hey, I think we should give every citizen a bar, the same group of people would say, oppose it because I didn't polish them enough. And that's the reality. Sometimes a win is a win for the citizens. And again, I have no interest in this, but the fact that I've had my ass kicked for trying to propose something and champion something, this is why people don't do it. This is why elected officials don't do it. So the council could choose whatever they want. It's a 5-1 vote. I wrote the ordinance, was not interested in it, still not interested in it, but I was speaking for the people. And also I want to talk about real quick, and I'll be done off my soapbox, the hypocrisy. When people start saying, well, you know what, the overcrowded streets, and it's going to cause this big influx. It's the same people in the same sense, in the same breath, that sit up here and say the mayor's doing this for a few of her friends. So what is it? Is it a few of them, or are we just going to be overrunning the city? The hypocrisy is just ridiculous. So I hope that citizens can see that. And I think it's about damn time that we have elected officials that are standing up and actually working on things for the citizens and give them a win when they want to win, and stopping the BS and the misinformation. So that is my opinion on it. I will get off of it. I'm just ready for this one to be over. So anything else on the side by side? Gold bar.
I don't think I can say anything after that, but I do want to just say for the record that I still think Columbia Boulevard is a better crossing than Gable. I still just believe that sending any amount of traffic to Gable, even if it's minimal, is just a bad idea. So for the record, Jessica said Gable is bad.
I had that same thought.
I just want it on the record.
And then I looked at it, but I could understand from law enforcement how
You're on
it's,
foot for like 5 seconds though.
but the thing is,
to turn.
but the thing is catching them riding on the highway, which they're not permitted to.
If they're not right in front of Victor Rico's, then they're
Yeah.
breaking the rule. I'm just saying.
And there's
I'm just
also-
saying, gotta
Also,
say it.
people also know that there's actually a House bill that has been moving at the state level that allows side-by-sides to operate in their class 1, 2, and 3s on the highways and the freeways. So I expect all these people that are in opposition to be heading down to
But
say.
I do know we
Right.
can change it if we need to.
Yeah.
So it's, I'm just saying it for the record that
So anyway, that's my opinion on it. I think that people need to stop operating on misinformation, get the facts. The ordinance was out there. The small group of people that continue to spread misinformation, I'll argue all day online about misinformation. It's not about being right. It's about correcting the misinformation that continues to divide this city and cause divisive type behavior. Got to stop at some point. Adults need to act like adults in the room and have intelligent disagreements, and not have the bullying, harassment, and the amount of crap that goes on. There's enough abuse in the schools, right? And bullying and harassment. You got these adults out here that are behaving like toddlers that are doing the same thing. No wonder why we have the problems in the school that we do. Enough is enough. We're better as a society. We're better as a community. Anyway, moving on. We're on agenda number. Anybody have anything else?
I.
Are you sure you're done?
Not sure.
She had to go back
I
apparently.
had to take a breath. Anybody have anything else on that? Okay. Moving on to number 5. Review the revenue options and refer to the voters election or for Mayor-elect John. This is all you.
If I can talk here.
No, it feels weird to like talk after her because I'm like, what I'm gonna say is not that important.
Okay, so Gloria is gonna join me in this presentation. She's also remote. Ashley is. And So my computer times out, but so you have a memo in your packet.
We have a long memo in our packet.
Is Gloria online?
Yes, I'm here.
Gloria and I did not choreograph this, but I'll kick it off as far as
We're gonna talk about the budget, right?
talking about the budget.
Can we
Yeah.
go back for a second? Let me just go ahead and do this while we're at it too. So I'm gonna read the disclosure because we're talking about budget. For the record, my spouse is employed by the city as a police officer. Because the budget includes compensation and benefits for city positions, I am announcing an actual conflict under ORS 244120 as amended by Senate Bill 983 Oregon Laws 2025, Chapter 466. I may participate in discussion and vote on adoption of the local budget after making disclosure. And I actually have a municipal attorney that I get my advice from, not a personal injury attorney. So I am actually permitted to discuss. Also, Resolution 509 that keeps getting spouted on the Code of Ethics actually adopts the ORS under 244, and it's actually in the packet or in the resolution that describes that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to now discuss, and I'm going to advocate for whatever I'd like. Go ahead.
That was just enough time to get the confirmation that we just got $1 million for the reservoir project out of the Fed, so.
Hi, John.
It just popped.
Where's Mohammed at?
Up on my screen.
Hey, I know you hear us.
Can you say that again?
The city is gonna be receiving $1 million through Senator or Congresswoman Bonamici's office at federal level for the reservoir project.
Good job, John. It
19
was
19 more million to go. So.
you, Sharon. You can start though. It's you, Sharon, and Mohammed, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you all.
Okay, so it has been all things finance and funding and, sustaining operations here at the city. At our last meeting, I shared that we are on a path to exhaust the general fund by end of June 30. And we're exploring both revenue sides of the equations and expenditure sides, and to that end, bringing some choices to you on the revenue side to give our constituents an opportunity to support these. If they're not, we're working on they don't get approved, and both of these options are going to be voter approved. Then we're going to look at the expense reductions. We haven't been filling a lot of vacancies. We've been really tightening the budget on expenditures everywhere we can, and it's hurting our level of service. So we'll just have to reduce our services up. Conversation about priorities around that if that time comes, but Gloria, did you want to chime in? We're basically bringing two options to you. One of them is a municipal service fee. One of them is a property tax levy. And both have a little bit different processes and timelines. And
Okay, so I wanted to kind of go through the, Ashley had kind of done an introductory to this discussion, and I kind of wanted to go through that just so that we have all of the information. So if you guys could bear with me, I'm going to read through this introduction of the subject, okay? So the purpose of this discussion is to present City Council with information about the budget, specifically the projected shortfall of fiscal year 26-27, and proposed revenue generation in the form of a municipal services fee and a local option levy, both of which require voter approval. After a review of the year-to-date budget, the projected expenditures, the city projects a budget shortfall of $150,000. And by the end of 2026, and if so, it will require a supplemental budget to reduce expenditures through the end of the year. If needed, I will be bringing that item forward at a future date. In addition, early forecasts for 26-27 general fund available revenue are estimated to have a shortfall if services are to remain the same. And I mean, this is significant. We're not talking 150,000, we're talking 1 million or more. So this is significant. And in my quarterly report, I showed you what our projections were. To maintain the same or similar level of services in fiscal year 26-27, the city will need to increase revenue. Two options to increase revenue include municipal services fee charged on utility bills or a local option property tax levy charged to property owners, both of which require city to adopt the ordinance or resolution and then refer the matter to voter approval. We have some background to share with you about how the city of St. Helens permanent property tax rate compares to other cities. And so we have a bar graph there. This information does not include any additional local option levies or general services fees, which may also have been adopted by the municipality. St. Helens has one of the lowest permanent tax rates in the state, and that impacts the amount of revenue the city receives in its general fund. The first of the two options is a municipal services fee. The municipal services fee, as we know, in September, City Council adopted Chapter 13.32, which requires all new municipal services fees unrelated to cost of utility service to obtain voter approval. When referred to the voters, the proposal must specify the maximum amount of the rate or fee, include an expiration date, state the specific purpose for the fee to be used for. In this case, the city is looking for additional revenue to maintain the current services provided and paid for out of the general fund. These include staffing, programs, and services in police, library, parks, recreation, community development, administration, and municipal court. A municipal service fee applies to equivalent dwelling units, which are units connected to a single meter. A single family residence connected to 1 meter is 1 EDU. A duplex connected to 1 meter is 2 EDUs. An apartment complex is the total number of apartment units. An RV park EDU is per hookup. So the amount proposed preliminary analysis shows that a $24 EDU month fee would generate $1,757,952, which would allow the city to maintain existing services with a 10% reserve. And I want to caution you, 10% reserve is absolutely the rock bottom that we should be doing. We should not even be doing just 10% reserve. To obtain a 20% reserve, the city would need a $35.30 EDU per month fee, which would generate $2,585,292 annually. Some differences in the impacts of a municipal services fee. It is collected monthly versus the local option levy, which is assessed July 1, but collected in a lump sum, mostly in November. Municipal services fees are not subject to Measure 5 tax compression that a local option levy may be subjected to, and which reduces the amount of revenue the city may ultimately receive. It would have to be calculated how much compression is anticipated to affect a local option level. It more often directly impacts occupants versus property owners because it is charged to the utility bill. An occupant may also be a property owner, but if a tenant rents and pays utilities directly, they would they would directly pay the charge with a municipal services fee. So the timeline, a municipal services fee is approved by ordinance and would need 2 readings, 14 days apart or 1 reading. If the public receives a 7 days in advance and the vote is unanimous. For 2 readings, the city would have to pass the first reading by February 12, 2025, for the second reading by February 26, 2026, and then it could be referred to the county by the deadline, which is February 27. This would require 2 special meetings. In 1 reading, the city could pass the ordinance at the regular meeting at February 21st, 2026, if unanimous. So a local option levy, the second option for city council to consider is a local option levy. The local option levy is a temporary up to 5 years voter approved property tax that is allowed to be expended on operational services. A local option levy could be used to maintain the city's existing general fund staffing programs and services in police, library, parks, recreation, community development, administration, and municipal court. In this case, a local option levy that charges $1.49 per thousand of assessed market value of a property would generate the funds to maintain existing services and create a 10% reserve, which I do not recommend. We need a 20% reserve minimum. If this was proposed as a 5-year local option later, it would expire in 2031. So the differences in a municipal services fee is that it is assessed on property owners. It is assessed on July 1st, 2026, and collected in November 2026. The local option levy is subject to measure 5 and 50 property tax compression, which reduces the amount of the revenue the city may ultimately receive. A referral of a local option levy would be approved by resolution in 1 vote. A local option levy could be presented by adoption at the regular February 21st, 2026 council meeting as a resolution. It could then be filed with the county by the February 27, 2026 deadline. We had variations, but I would not recommend any of those, so I really don't want to discuss them.
Questions? Gloria, a quick question for me. So we have from 2027 to 2037. So I am assuming that this is the sunset for this proposal for the municipal fee.
So the municipal services fee, we did not really have a sunset date on that, as far as I know.
The general service fee.
We could do a sunset and then send it back to voters. If we could do a 10-year sunset and then send it back to voters, if that's what this council.
If I recall that was part of our ordinance, is if in fact we are going to put, an ordinance for a fee, then it has to have a sunset so that our citizens know when the end date is.
That is correct.
So we would need to have a sunset on that.
Yeah, you are correct, according to the ordinance that you had adopted. So if we could do a 10-year sunset and then reassess it before it sunsets, and if the development at the waterfront and the everything else, the development and the economy starts to improve, then absolutely, it could sunset in 10 years and just leave it alone. If development and the economy does not improve, we would have to send it back to voters, but we would know.
Right. So a couple more questions. If we go with a levy, that doesn't really take place till next year, where with the general service fee, that would take place pretty much immediately, correct?
Correct. We would implement that with the same time we would um do the budget. So in the July billing.
So either one of these options would go out to the voters if council chose to approve it. And I
Correct.
just want to talk about this again, if you can chime in. So, I've always been in support for a fee because of what you talked about for EDUs and the equality of it. In addition to that is that, we get 100% of that dollar. So if 100% of that dollar collected would go to the very prescriptive requirement that is in the fee ordinance or whatever the case is. And if we did a levy, we don't get 100% of the dollar. We could get
Absolutely
various
correct.
amounts. So it doesn't actually, it's one, not equal, but also, I mean, you could have like, let's say the bigger apartments that are not paying taxes, that they would be not paying their share, but also we end up in the situation where it's literally not 100% of our dollar going to it. Am I correct?
Absolutely correct.
Okay. And there was a lot of information. By the way, you did a fantastic job on laying this out for us. You always do a really good job. I like the fact that it's all just numbers here, so it's easy to navigate. And we have in the packet where we start going through where you've worked with the department heads to look at, the impact of the services, obviously. That if in fact it doesn't pass, because I think that that's going to be, if council chooses to go with this, I think that that's going to be really important on understanding what services. And then also in my position of government, I think, for me, one of my major focuses right now is to secure 2 full-time detectives for the St. Helens Police Department that can do nothing but be assigned to ICAC in child abuse cases, considering the presentation we had by Detective Edwards and Chief Smith. We obviously have an issue in this city, and we have a chief that's doubling on doing detective work, which is why he's not here today. He's actually in court testifying. And I'm fine with people wearing multiple hats, but I also think we need 2 full-time detectives to handle these cases that we have. Our children are our most vulnerable in this city. And I think that needs to be a big piece of this public or the general service fee too. And I didn't see that, well, I mean, council, we haven't talked about that, but I don't know how everybody feels about it, but I think that, there's always a lot of scrutiny around the police budget and so forth, which is fine. But I think we need 2 full-time dedicated detectives. That
So
do, like I
yes,
said,
that
nothing.
is certainly a piece of it, Mayor. But I'm not sure. I would like to emphasize the impact also. In addition to the police department and getting it to where our community wants it to be, 24-hour service. We need the detectives, absolutely. We need a fully staffed police department, but also our budget deficit is also affecting all of these other services and library, recreation, but I'm talking about even our front desks. We're going to be shut if we don't get this passed, if we don't find an answer, we're going to be shutting down City Hall for at least 1 day a week, if
I
not
think-
more.
I think we have to be very clear, and I guess that I didn't finish what I was thinking, was that we have to be very clear on how this will disrupt the services, just in general, across the board, everything, correct me if I'm wrong, that is affected by the general fund.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna have to be very clear to citizens at what's at stake as far as it's up to them now. This council has chosen to put it in their hands for a vote, which is what they want, but whether they choose that these services are important to them or not. But I think we have to make that crystal clear.
Yes, and that was the whole purpose of those impact statements for each of the departments.
You have anything, John?
With only that we're looking for direction, because this is very timely and there's this vision pathways or
I have a question for Gloria. Sorry, John. Gloria, my question to you is that we're looking at one or the other, right? We're looking for a general service fee or a levy. Is there an option for voters to either consider both? I mean, I personally like the fee, because I like 100% of the dollar, and it's, to me, makes the most logical sense, but.
Right. So that was one of the variations that I chose not to share with you. If you would like me to, I can do that.
Well, I think it came up in my head, but I think that that's also could be confusing for voters, but I didn't know if there's a good way.
And that's exactly why I didn't share those options with you, is because we have talked about it internally, Ashley, John and I, and we definitely feel that it would be totally confusing to voters if we put both options on the ballot, and any kind of variation of that. So I think it is going to be very important for the council to choose one or the other. It's either the local option tax or the municipal fee.
So this is something that we're gonna have to vote on for work session item for tonight. Okay.
I don't
Anybody
know if
have-
it's on the work session for tonight
Or
or on the regular session.
looking for direction.
Yeah.
Council on that.
Does
We
anybody,
just need direction for, right now, we need direction, and then it'll come on the next agendas.
well, we have to vote tonight to put it on for the next agenda.
It would be direction to bring forward either the resolution path or the ordinance path.
I think maybe the reason why I don't have a lot to say about this is because, to be honest with you, I don't think it's gonna pass. I don't think either one of them will pass. So we can spend all the time we want, but honestly, we would probably be smarter to spend more of our time figuring out how we're gonna operate with less money. I'm sorry, that's just how I
So-
feel about it, because it's probably not gonna pass.
So, okay, so Counselor Chilton, I, clarify on that. So the vote happens after the first budget committee meeting, between the budget committee meetings, first and second. I am preparing now, two budgets. One is going to be with, and one is going to be without. And that's what it's going to look like to the budget committee when we present the budget at the first meeting. And
Appreciate that.
yep,
I mean, the reality is that it's, the citizens spoke, they wanted to make the decisions, right? So this is their opportunity to make the decisions, and then the consequences that fall in line with whatever the vote is the vote. That doesn't mean that we stop looking for additional revenue sources to grow our general fund on our end, right? Because our ordinance also allows, if we have more funds, that we can reduce or basically reconfigure what one of these general service fees are. So I don't think that, I think it's in tandem, right? We present this to the citizens on what in fact they would like, and then, and what services are important to them.
And I'm fine with that. I just would, throw a flag of caution here to not spend too much time and money on it. So that's just my 2 cents.
Counselor Sundin, you have anything?
I kind of feel the same way. I think people don't like fees, but they don't like taxes either, so. I don't know. What I've heard at the budget meetings over the last few years is people want everything and they don't want to pay any more money for it, which is no longer a reality. So it's something's got to give.
Counselor Gunderson?
Agree with what Brandon said.
I think it's important that tax rate too at the 1.19%, 1.91%.
4.9, yeah.
Yeah. Counselor Hubbard, do you have anything?
So the EDU charge is for living units only.
It could be trailers, she was saying. So like if you have an RV hookup, each RV apartments, they have.
So commercial and industrial property would not be taxed.
Yeah, it's gonna be each business, each EDU. So if it's one business or if it's a business complex, it's going to be for each business.
For each business in the business complex.
Complex of apartments or just.
Or business complex, so it could be. Businesses, 5 EDUs.
So apartments would be each apartment.
And an industrial property with one bathroom would be.
Yeah, it's probably just one EDU for an industrial property.
So if I had an industrial property, I don't want the tax levy per thousand, I would want that.
Right.
Or if you're an apartment owner, you wouldn't want that.
Exactly. But you pass it down as unfortunately, citizens and renters always end up with everything. It doesn't matter if you increase the property taxes, it rolls down, right? Their rent increases. It just is the way it goes.
So where does this put us in this big scale here?
Did you hear that question, Gloria? Counselor Hubbard asked where it puts us in the big scale, and I can't see behind.
So what is the question again?
On your diagram there of each city, where would we be with your new EDUs?
So the graph there is for property taxes. We are way low on property taxes. So if we even, and the bar graph that we're showing there doesn't include what any of those cities are asking in local options levies like we're asking for. At our budget committee meetings last year, I showed all kinds of comparisons that showed the cities that had municipal fees, their permanent tax rates, any local option levies. I showed them all in a comparison. And even then, the city of St. Helens was on the bottom of that scale.
To answer Councilor Hubbard's question, if you added the proposed levy here with the existing tax rate, it brings up about $3.40. So we're up to about
Okay, yes.
about a
Yeah,
third.
that would be right.
Put us right under where?
Silverton, Hillsborough, Grisham,
Bird area? Got it.
who's
Mayor and council, I want to just add to the conversation that what Gloria was saying was that this chart though doesn't include the municipal fees and local option levies that those cities also charge. And so if you were to add what the proposed municipal fee or local option levy to St. Helens, we don't have the data about all of those fees that are also added to those cities. So those cities also would grow because they already have fees and local option levies that are being charged. Hopefully you could hear that.
Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah. Thank you for the clarification, Ashley. That's exactly right.
John, do you have anything else? With this?
Yeah, other than we're looking for direction on either the levy or the fee, and if it's the fee, how much, or on both of them, if it's the tax rate or the 10% scenario or the 20% scenario.
Anybody else have anything? Before we move on to the next item? Nope. Okay, we're gonna move on to review request for leak adjustment at 225 Gable Road. Man, we're on a theme of these things lately. Your favorite topic?
I know.
We're talking about, I think, a partial adjustment of $28,609 or $69.52, or a full adjustment of $56,139.04. That one?
Yeah, my name's not by it, but I'll take the first.
Who was by it?
Nobody.
Oh, all right. Well, I mean, we have a broadleaf arbor submitted a leak adjustment request that will require our council review. They have had an active account since 9/15/2023. They've also been issued 11 late fees, 0 late fee reversals, 0 leak adjustments. It looks like there was some communication breakdown between Adrian Thomas on 11/25/2025. It looks like they may have been trying to communicate with somebody that was no longer there. It's outside of the 45-day submission window. They did include the emails that it looks like it appeared they tried to contact somebody. Does that sum it up? Okay, so we're looking at a partial adjustment request for the $28,069.52, or a full adjustment request for $56,139.04. I mean, my answer is no, so that's how I feel about it. So.
So we'll kick it up to the evening agenda, right?
If we kick it up and you guys can all
Nobody has
move
any
it over.
questions, yeah.
I don't think we get enough taxes. to Even consider it, even though it's still out. Before. So, okay, that will go on tonight's agenda. So we have 2 topics for tonight. We have so far, we need to talk about the general service fee, the levy, and then this one, okay? And then that puts us into Jacob. You have been waiting so patiently. Can we talk about it since you're here, number 7?
Yes, yeah.
Set off.
I know, but he's here now.
Catch up.
I'll review the final partition plat for 80 South 21st Street.
Yeah, so tonight in the regular session, there is one of the items, action items is for the mayor's signature of the final. I think we had one of these on the first meeting as mayor, actually.
We did. Was that not paper out there?
Yeah, so I'll have that tonight. So land partition means you're creating 3 or less parcels per calendar year. Doesn't always need signature from elected official. But when we are dedicating public right of way, we do need it. So it's that simple. There's some public right of way dedicated and we need the signature. Because it's a rare thing, I like to explain it. So when it comes up, you're like, oh yeah, we know exactly what this is. That simple.
It is that simple. Does anybody have anything for Jacob? No. Counselor Hubbard, Counselor Gunderson? All right, see, we're almost catch up. Thank you, Jacob. Number 8, discussion regarding the alien exhibit. John, it's your time to shine.
All right, thank you. Well, Mr. Preheim was correct earlier that I didn't know anything about the alien, which is correct. I mean, I don't know much about the alien, I'll say that. I know that the exhibit was talked about. It ended up upstairs over there, and Treadway is doing they do pretty extensive investigation. I'd hope that they would be here. They had a conflict, so they're not, but they submitted the memo that came along with that I sent out earlier. And basically there's 2 sides to the alien exhibit. Has the cabinet and hardware side, and then there's a software on it. The media company has since gone bankrupt and insolvent. Then there's this story file on it's like a subscription kind of thing that you build this alien and have this dialogue experience that makes it work. According to Treadway, the alien hasn't worked as designed at any point that they can tell. To do some of the deficiencies in the technology. summarize this memo. The memo actually has links to it, some videos about them. Shows some of the contracts that E2C had with company. It's an installation movie, has the script of what they had ordered. Somewhat irrelevant now that the technology is not supported and
John, so my question is, on the page 2, it's referenced that it's 150,000 figure. We have heard approximately 150,000 figured referenced, but we have not done confirming that amount. If in fact the city of St. Helens paid any invoices or paid for this, if it was over $50,000, it would have had to come to council's approval. Although I can't see anything that has any type of financial approval for this. And if it's 150,000, or wouldn't this be on like our inland marine insurance policy as an asset for the city?
it would have had to come to the council for approval, and I don't find anything that supports that number, so.
So how are we going to determine that, or I guess it would be Treadway, if we determine this surplus property, how is it determined on what this thing is worth? And also, I want to make sure that we don't owe any outside funds or any obligations to this entity if we signed a contractual agreement for this alien in the software.
Yeah, I don't have that information.
So really, so we don't have a contract, we don't have an invoice, we don't have proof of how much we paid for it, we don't have it listed as a city asset.
Did we use it?
They used it once. And not to its full capacity. It did not get used last year, and said they took that area and made it into the reptile experience with bar and made money out of that area.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That reptile thing's pretty cool.
They have no plans to continue using it. I think the issue is not whether or not we should keep it, because I think everybody sees the math here, that it doesn't make sense, but whether or not we can even legally get rid of it.
We used it, and so that Ashley would have to speak to it, would say ownership, but because we had to pay to use it, obviously. But then it was abandoned and
Yeah,
didn't come get it.
I'm curious about any additional contractual agreements. Usually when you're signing for something, right? Let's say hypothetically that this thing was worth 150,000, this is hypothetical. And, somebody, Joe Schmo, purchased it for, $25,000 with the agreement that there's going to be additional services, just like a lot of times contractual services are, right? I don't know how much this thing costs. One would think that it would be an expensive piece of equipment based on what it is with the hologram stuff. I'm not into technology, but I come back to, is there any outstanding contractual requirements that we had stated or on the obligation that we owe money, and then how much is it? Or would that come back to whoever signed the contract?
Bankrupt.
Would it come back to who signed the contract? Ashley, do you see any reason that they're?
I thought Treadway said in their memo to us, that the city is responsible for the equipment.
That's kind of what I thought. But I haven't seen a contract. There's no
Yeah.
contract to this.
That's a good point. If there's no contract, I mean, did we?
There's some kind of contract with the story file portion of it.
And it says initial story file contract, City of St. Helens, Tina Curry.
Don't know you aware of that contract?
I was not. And depending on the amount, she would have had that discretion under her contract.
But signing as the city of St. Helens is not within her authority as a
Ma-
contract.
Mayor and council, if you would like me to take a look at this issue, I can take a look at it. This is the city attorney talking, and I have not looked at it yet. The question I hear is can the city declare this surplus property? And are there any limitations or restrictions that you should know about? Is that right? Would you like me to take a look at that?
I think that would be helpful. And if you could look at the documentation and files on hand for like especially the initial story file contract, like it says City of St. Helens, Tina Curry, so I don't know what that means. I don't know if we're obligated to anything. So if you could see if there is any restrictions from us declaring this surplus property and getting rid of it or whatever the case is, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on this?
Mayor? Yes, Gloria would like to reopen the discussion about the fee and getting direction.
Perfect. Gloria?
Yes, thank you. So we need direction tonight on whether or not we're going to do a resolution or ordinance for your next meeting. It's not a vote thing. It's just a general consensus, a direction. You don't have to vote. We just need to know what you want to do.
Okay. Feels like we should be voting on, I guess maybe not. Like we're,
Mayor and council, this is Ashley speaking again.
Yeah.
You know, another option is to prepare both for your review and for public comment at the next meeting. That's another option.
So
If
is that
that-
too late, Ashley? Isn't that too late?
Well, if that were to occur, if that was the direction to say, well, we really want to keep considering both options, then it forecloses or it prevents the city from being able to adopt the municipal services fee unless it was a unanimous vote. Because adopting an ordinance in one reading requires 7 days notice of the ordinance and a unanimous vote.
Right. So we need to know what we want to put on the next meeting though, right?
Correct. We're looking for direction about how to proceed. So would you like to see both options?
if I may, it feels like that's extra calories for the staff if we could come up with a determination tonight on which way we would like to go, then you're not spending time or calories on preparing both.
Okay, well, this would be your opportunity to discuss it between yourselves, and then at the city council meeting, you would then vote on that direction. But and maybe everyone knows how they feel about it, but I think Gloria is trying to make sure that there's sufficient opportunity for discussion right now for you to give direction at the city council meeting tonight.
But Ashley, do we need to vote on tonight or do we just give a general? So we make a motion to.
One or the other
Okay.
is what she's saying.
Okay. So.
I think it would be useful to vote this evening for direction. And I think the direction could be prepare an ordinance for a general safety fee to adopt in 2 meetings. Another option is prepare an ordinance to adopt in 1 meeting. Another option is prepare both options for additional discussion.
It's a general service fee. You said public safety fee, just to clarify.
Oh, excuse me, yes, a municipal services fee, a municipal services fee and the local option levy. Thanks. Let's see. Do you need more information in order to kind of determine how to proceed? I think the 2 options on the table are to propose to adopt a municipal services fee in 2 meetings that would be special meetings to refer to the voters, or prepare a municipal services fee to adopt in 1 motion at the regular meeting, or prepare a resolution to adopt a local option levy for the next city council meeting. Or it could be a combination, so preparing both a local option levy and a municipal services fee for the next meeting. And you can discuss then which to adopt or not.
We think that we have the capability to come up with, through discussion, on whether we want to go for the fee or the levy tonight.
Just for correction, or clarification, the fee would also still go out to the voters, correct?
Correct, that's our
Okay,
ordinance.
I should just didn't say that, so I just want to make sure that I.
That is in our ordinance now. Either one of them has to. It's just how that they frame it and how it.
For what it's worth, I'm leaning towards the fee.
And if it is the fee, then the amount, it's
Right.
$24.
Well, that's only 10%.
the 10% reserve is.
Yeah, right, well, it's not gonna.
Well, the thing is, okay, so let's talk about that.
Lowest.
If we're going to be asking for it, if we ask for it to get us to the 20, we have 10 years if we do a fee,
What was it, 24 or what?
36, 35.
There's no way people are like, $20 is a tank of gas, you know, for some people. That's a big difference. $30, almost $40.
So I gave you chart in my quarterly report. And so the fee would be according to that chart. So it would change from year to year over 10 years.
I know,
It's not just a flat fee for 10 years.
because in my opinion, it's not gonna work. So I don't want to keep
I feel the same way, but
taking the lead on it.
I just think 10% is irresponsible.
I mean, if we're going out, we're going out. We're gonna be identifying the services that are gonna have to be cut. It's up to the citizens if, you know, what is important to them, right? So that's what they asked us to do. That's what we're doing. We're taking advice from our finance director, and we need to be solvent. And at the same time, we need to also be actively pursuing revenue generating streams. We can't just rely on citizens, you know, with fees. We have to try to be doing something unilaterally to try to benefit the economy here.
Gloria,
Yes.
Mayor and Council, I just wanted to add a clarification. Is it correct that if the city felt more comfortable and that it would be more successful to refer a measure to the voters for the amount for the 10% reserve municipal services fee, then, and if that was going to be more successful, the city would benefit from that, and it would still have to cut some services, and so that would be an option to consider if they wanted.
It's already an option. We have two options
Okay.
right now. We have
Got it. Okay.
$10 for 20% of the reserves. And I feel like if we're gonna spend the time and effort to go out, let's lay it on the line to everybody. Let's this is what we need to get back at the 20% reserves. Hopefully it doesn't have to stay that way. And I mean, people are going to see the services that are gonna be cut throughout the general fund. Some may affect other people, you know, that are they're priorities for them and not be a priority in other aspects of it. But I mean, if we're gonna spend the time and calories, feels like I'm with Counselor Sandine, it feels irresponsible just to not put it out there and go for it. That's the voters.
So with the 10% reserve, you're running the risk of it not being enough. You know, so 10% reserve is absolutely our bare minimum. So if in union negotiations in 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, they go sideways and we have to do a lot more COLA than we're hoping to, or whatever it is, 10% reserve isn't going to cover that. So then you're going to tell our community that, oh, oops, we're going to have to cut some services because we've only got this 10% reserve that cannot sustain us. If you have a 20% reserve in the get-go, at least you have a little bit of wiggle room. And so you're able to save a little face when it comes to unexpected contingencies happening along the road. Because they do happen. We know they do happen.
Counselor Hubbard, we haven't heard from you.
I can't see it passing, but it just asks for more and more money. And over the years, I've seen so much money pissed away in this town, I don't know what to do. I'm disgusted.
So the other piece of that is how do we, if this is adopted, I think that the oversight and the fiduciary oversight needs to be like enhanced, right? So the fact of the matter is if we're taking in exactly what we need to for these services to be maintained.
Nobody's looked at that. They just won't start looking at that. Why isn't that part of the puzzle?
On what part?
Looking at what we spend, and how it's spent.
I mean, we do that every year with the budget, so I'm not sure where you're at, but you can ask any question.
It was my first one last year.
Yeah. Because I think that that is important. I think that my opinion, as I sit here today, is that there has been money that I don't necessarily agree with, right? But it's also one of that same mindset when we had, Jeremy up here talking, we cannot control what has happened in the past. We can control as a council what goes forward and the fiduciary oversight that we expect and mandate, right? On behalf of the citizens. So that's the best we can do. We cannot go back historically to fix anything. We can start from now and go forward.
Well, with the cards we were with.
Yeah.
Understand.
And this financial situation did not just happen in the last fiscal year. This has been a cumulative effect that has been happening. And now we have to deal with it. So how are we gonna deal with it? We need to get more revenue streams anywhere we possibly can to offset the burden to the taxpayers. And we have to put this in the voters' hand. This is what they wanted. They wanted the choice. We could have easily sit up here and made a decision on a general service fee. We didn't. We listed. It's up to them. The services get cut. The only thing we're responsible for at that point is if we stop trying to generate revenue.
Sounds like a consensus. Is have the direction that you need.
Do we have, do we
Ashley?
have direction, Ashley?
Repeat what the direction is. Unfortunately, my phone just.
I personally, I can't hear you. I'm personally for the $35 fee and put it out to the voters with a very clear description of what the services are that is going to be affected by it. Council President Chilton?
Yep.
You good? Council Sundin? Councilor Hubbard?
Put both on the ballot. We have to make the decision.
Because that wasn't our option.
They have a decision, which is yes or no.
Yeah, yes or no. So right now we're deciding fee or levy. And if the fee, how much? I mean, I started the conversation because it's a crappy conversation, right?
Sure.
And I will get prosecuted all over online for it. We have a choice at this point. We have to put it out there based on where we're at financially at the city. It's up to the voters. So I say I'm with Councilor Sundin. Fact is if we're gonna be responsible enough and to ensure that there is enough in the reserves, then it is the $35 general service fee and a 10-year sunset. That was not included, but I think that's vitally important. And because we could always change it if the economy approves. But that's my opinion. Did we come to a consensus? I don't.
With you.
Okay.
You with it?
Counselor?
I'll abstain.
Okay, Counselor Hubbard is going to abstain. So does that change anything when we go to vote tonight on having a unanimous vote?
So tonight, you can formally vote on the direction you want to give to the city administrator for what measure to bring, what option to bring at the next city council meeting. Well, let's see. You're recommending, what I hear is that the majority of council is recommending to bring the municipal services fee at the 20% reserve to the next or for approval. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, because you don't necessarily have a unanimous consensus on that, it would be recommended to then take that through 2 votes. Because in order for it to be adopted in 1 vote, you would need a unanimous approval. And so that would mean the city would hold 2 special meetings in order to consider this and approve this option.
Well, we have 5 members up here and we need to recognize and respect every single one of the voices. So if it's 2 special sessions, that's what we need to do.
Okay,
Like to review this stuff more than sitting down in a couple hours, look at it. I know it was out earlier, but it takes time to look at the stuff.
But we're not voting on it tonight. We're just voting on direction. So
Well, even that.
Yeah.
I'd like to be informed, but
Yep.
a lot here.
there is a lot here. Gloria did a fantastic job on the packet. Okay. So I believe what I heard is that we have a general consensus to direct staff. However, it's going to need to go to 2 special votes. Unless on the first vote, we have a unanimous.
that's correct. If it was, I'd have to review that further, but if it was unanimous on the first reading and it met the other requirements, then it could be effective on that date.
So that could give Counselor Hubbard the appropriate period of time to do additional research so that he felt more comfortable making a decision one way or another.
Yes, Counselor Hubbard and everyone has opportunities to continue to review. It's yes.
I appreciate that. Okay. We good with all that? Kathy, did we miss anything that you can think of? Okay, earlier I was watching and you were a little bit, I think, concerned on the calendar dates. Is there anything that we have that we need to address for the timing?
Don't think so.
That we're good there for everything that's proposed? Okay, just making sure. All right, so we're moving that to the work session tonight, or I mean, the regular session. Okay, now we're on to the discussion regarding the Recreation Center building. Well, sorry, Ashley and Gloria, did you have anything else with that? I apologize.
No, thank you very much for finishing that out. We really appreciate it.
Okay, we're on to number 9, discussion regarding the use of the recreation building. Good thing we don't have executive.
Yeah. Sorry, I kept things going. Go ahead.
Jacob's here to talk about the land use implications of the property being industrial zone and also 5.8 acres. So
Right, so you want me to start with my stuff? Okay. So, yeah, when I heard the discussion about the use of this property, we're a city with zoning, and so one of the fundamental elements of use is zoning. So I talked to John, well, I should probably talk about it. So the rec center building is actually on a 7-acre parcel. And includes a variety of things, and it's zoned light industrial. So light industrial enables industrial uses and some non-industrial uses. And just to give an example of how I've had to think about it. So we buy the property from the mill. The mill used that building as a recreation facility for its employees, and maybe it was open to the public too. So we buy it. The recreation program is created. They want to use that as their first building. So from a use and zoning standpoint, well, it's already been used as recreation, so it really doesn't change the land use. Cool. No land use hurdles to go through. Several years later, the inclusion of offices for non-rank and file police staff. That's when there was a zoning consideration. In industrial areas, office uses, so for example, by an attorney, a tax accountant or something like that, It's not an allowed use. However, public facilities, a building used by a public agency are. So we went through the process to change it to a public facility. That way the police could have offices there. I show that as an example, because, you know, there's certain things you can do in light industrial, there's certain things that you can't. And there's perhaps a broader question of zoning. Do we want to rezone it? There's also an element of, do we keep it or do we sell it? And the fact that it's 7 acres and there are a variety of things why we wouldn't necessarily want to sell it right away, comes into the picture. One idea I had to be able to discuss some of these things that I'm mentioning is to include it on the agenda for the joint meeting with the city council and planning commission in March. That's coming up. And like the rezoning question is a good topic to have with the commission. Because if we're talking about the different zonings, that kind of decides what kind of uses are possible there. So that's, I wanted to have that primer.
Perfect. I have some questions for you.
Like, is she making a face or what?
No, I actually spent time doing research and I would like to bring this up. It appears, because I'm always looking for revenue, right? And when we have land that's not being used except for dogs to go potty on it and parking for one to eat, it makes me wonder, are we actually utilizing a land to the value that we need, especially when we need reoccurring revenue streams? So I believe that way back when, and I don't know when it was discussed to have an RV park there.
I knew you were gonna say that.
And I've been doing research and I've been on the phone with other RV parks, and I'm not talking about dilapidated, fall down, you know, like crack shacks. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about higher end RV parks that there is strict guidance on the age of the RVs, how long people can stay there. And just for rough numbers, and I actually went I looked through Pacific Shores Motor Coach Resort, Dundee Hills RV Resort, and went through like where they're on the long term so that you don't have squatting and people like, you know, having it as residency issues. And just from low end numbers, right? The 70 spots that I believe that was actually looked like at before, the gross annual site potential, if 85% capacity was done, would be, if you started at the very low end at $750 per month, which I didn't find one higher end RV park that actually had that, that was $535,000 per year. And if you charge $1,100 per month rent, that's approximately $785,400 per year. Now Dundee RV Hills resort, they actually charge from May through October $1,500 a month. Now that one includes electricity. The other ones I looked at were $1,400 and did not include electricity. In their off months, they were $950 a month. So I'm also wondering, because I'm not like interested in bringing in, you know, some additional housing, right, here, because we need infrastructure for what we have. But I'm also looking at, is there an opportunity, if this was the appetite of the council to explore revenue generating income, that there is opportunities at a state level that could be tapped in for any type of grants or things like that, as it does provide, you know, sometimes up to 4 or 6 month occupancy for that. And there is also opportunities to put RFPs out for people to manage it appropriately, so there's somebody on site. So I bring this up because looking for revenue, and this is something that we have the prime land for. And if it can be managed correctly and it can be upkept so it's not a dilapidated, you know, dumpster fire, that I feel like, why would we not look at this for revenue? If we can possibly generate even remotely close to $1 million a year. And here we are talking about a general service fee, right? So not land, I don't think we're using it. I think we should explore it.
And it just so happens, being zoned by industrial recreational vehicle park is a possible use under that zoning.
What happened? What happened to this? I don't have a lot of detail. What happened to the conceptual idea of an RV park and why was it not pushed forward?
Things take money. You know, so it's like when you don't have the money to spend on projects like that, like the building now would have to be, you know, remodeled inside of there and changed a little bit to go back to utilizing it for an RV park. You'd have to have electrical hookups and stuff out there. All great ideas. Just gotta have a plan about how we would finance
So
it.
tourism, travel Oregon, like
We
is that?
could use our finance money for it, right, John? Because if it's a hotel tax.
Yes.
No, it applies to,
So
you are taxed.
the other thing is the Farah building, like that could be used as an event space like you see at some of these high-end RV parks,
Like
right?
the clubhouse, it
Like
has a gym.
clubhouse, it has a gym, it has things like that, which also increases the, it's the, what are the amenities
Mhm.
that, like, are we using this and can we make money? We need to figure out how to make money. We cannot stay stagnant and expect that we're gonna get these big box chains and industry to come here. We have to use the land and the resources we have right now to get creative and be futuristic on how to generate revenue.
The advantage of using the building as it is, the building is within a 100-year floodplain. But it's grandfathered in its circumstances. There are substantial improvement elements where once you dump enough money into it, it's supposed to be upgraded. But a clubhouse is possible to be a minimal amount that it wouldn't trigger that.
Gonna end up with another Luba complaint. Like, is that what I just wanna? like-
No, he's saying that we wouldn't.
No,
Oh.
these are
Exactly what he's saying. No,
more typical floodplain rules that we deal with, not floodplain as it applies to critical facilities.
Okay.
perhaps another reason why this should go before the planning commission in a joint meeting or something. Right, Jacob?
Sure, I mean, it's a good discussion to have with them. But if the council supports an RV park, we don't have to change the color on the zoning map.
I just think we need to look for revenue. Land is just land. Like I said, dogs poop on it and I walk by there every day. Dogs poop on it and people park there one time a year.
There's a beautiful creek there and there's a beautiful hidden park back in
Yes.
there too. So it has always been a good option for an RV park area.
There was already a study done.
Yeah, we just haven't got it off ground.
We're getting off, we gotta talk about this and get it off ground. If we can make close to $1 million a year, that is a significant addition to our general fund. It's business. We got this.
So what do we do next if we want to explore this more?
Jacob suggested having a joint meeting with planning commission. I could resurrect the worship things, that they, there's several iterations of plans with some having a trail along the creek, so they're around the park, access in and out of the place.
But that's significantly different. Like
Yeah.
that's keeping a trail there, like is either 30 spots or 70 spots.
That's correct.
Right, so that's the piece of it, but if you're in it, we have waterfront, we have a lot of places to go. In my opinion, we need money. We need money for people to like stay there. So, also could I offer for the Joint Planning Commission, also all the research that I've done on this for the other RV parks and so that we can have those discussions at the time, because this could be kind of one of those scary things, right? That we, again, don't want a dumpster fire down there. We don't want something that's gonna have additional calls for police service and constantly be an issue, but if it's managed right, it could be successful and we can make money. Okay, anything else, Counselor Jefferson? No comments? John?
That's good.
Okay, Councilor Sunday? All right, we're moving on to, and that was a great thing, by the way, Council President to bring. Thank you for doing that. You had a lot of really good ideas.
Well, it was, I would love to take all the credit for it, but John, it was way before my time. It's been talked about for a long time to use the Farah building for that, idea. It's just, there's so many different projects going on, the police station, the paper mill and waterfront. And it was just one of those things that didn't.
But you brought it up last meeting, and that's what we have to do. We can have to
Oh,
continue to
oh,
bring it
yeah.
up. You did bring it up last meeting.
Well, it wasn't being used. And so
it comes back to, again, you brought up the property on Ross Road. That is also another opportunity to generate revenue. We have to use our assets to generate money. A one-time sale of a property is a one-time Band-Aid infusion to the general fund that gets pissed away. We need legacy income. We need reoccurring revenue. That's what we need. Okay. John, do you really have anything else to say today? This is your report.
No, we've been very focused on, funding's a huge issue, and, it affects services, and we really want to bring you choices, bring the voters choices to be able to support this. And then if we have to go down the cuts route, we're trying to look at that really closely too. And then it's really a general fund issue. Our utilities are pretty healthy, and we're going along funding our capital projects. Our rates are within where they should be. So I just don't want to get yeah, we're all one family here, but those other departments are doing just fine. And part of that funding quest has been both general fund, but it's also the capital projects. And we have some very expensive capital projects. I just shared that Congressman Bonamici sponsored $1 million for the city of St. Helens to go to the reservoir project. We also met earlier this week with Senators Weber and Representative Edwards. Each of those people have an opportunity, representatives have an opportunity to sponsor 2 capital projects. Going into the short session here that's only 30 days long. And Representative Weber already was supportive of when we met with her on Monday, but already subscribed her 2 projects. Representative Edwards, excuse me, did take our project on and sponsored that. So we made a $15 million request to the state legislature in this capital project session. There'll be a hearing on that next Friday. I'll go down to Salem. Testify on that. Probably the state's having a hard time with the budget this year, but if we get part of it, it's money that our ratepayers will not have to pay directly. So so we feel pretty good about that. On tonight's agenda, you've got a couple of ordinances, one on the Morton Lane annexation, and also the ATV, as you well know. Also on the agenda is this award bid contract, and I'm focusing on this purely for the point of comparison here, where we're seeing we had 10 bids on this project for this water line, and our bid estimate range was like 320 to 380, and it came in at 229 in the low bid. So we came in below our engineering estimate, which is great for working with Howard is Right on our police project, and they're going to be going out to bid here fairly soon with their subcontractors, and hopefully we get to see that same kind of lower end of the spectrum, which will result in some project savings, which allow us to do a little more on with the project there with the funding we have. Sand Island Campground's been a little bit of back burner with some of these funding issues, but we've also, through the DEQ penalty and worked with Soil and Water Conservation District, it looks like we're in line to basically do an environmental project. We've identified Sand Island invasives and a tree planting plan and as the project, and we're working through that with both all those agencies to make that happen. And so that could be that we make lemonade out of lemons here. So
delicious.
We've been working with supporting Project Arcadia, continuing with that, their permitting and transfers. This morning or this afternoon, just before this meeting, Councilors Hubbard, Gunderson, and staff met with Romano. We're starting to see some building massing concepts, working towards which we can share. And the next steps is this LOI, this letter of intent, and our legal counsel is working to insulate the city over that. And so she sees something. It may influence the timeline a little bit, but I think our conversations have been productive and pretty exciting, actually. Back to funding for a second, Senator Merkley is also opening up federal, the congressional directed spending will be announces today. That application just went live, so we're gonna be putting applications for the reservoir on that as well. So I think we all know this is gonna be a challenging budget year, and we'll have to see. And the good thing about this the option coming on the ballot, we'll know which budget we're gonna work with. Gloria's gonna have, she shared that she has two budgets, and one's with and one's without. We will go whatever direction we're headed there, so. With last week, we received another award for the Award for Excellence for the Streets and Utilities Project, and that was very nice. So we have another trophy for the trophy case, and Mohammed and Sharon and Alex and I went down to Tigard last week and received that award. Got full pack meetings. We've got the county coalition on meeting every other week. I met with Grow and had Paul Vogel and Tony Hyde come in and talk about the transfer of assets, digital assets to the city. As far as Grow and CET assets. And we're gonna hold those and then working, because we don't have the capacity right now, like Scappoose does, we're gonna hold those assets. And you'll be seeing a memorandum of understandings very similar to the one we had between the city and CET with between the city and Scappoose. Over the next month, we should see some iterations and trying to keep those programs growing and sustainable, not lose too much credibility that we've had some Berlin Trail and things like that didn't go off quite as well as we had hoped. So you're gonna meet with Treadway, meeting with the school district. I've been meeting regularly to the Parks Commission meeting, went on the walk on Saturday through the Bill Creek Reserve property, had really great turnout, and they see the vision for having trails on both sides of the creek, and a lot of the port staff was there as well. I think that's it.
Thanks. I'm glad we're getting awards. I have just a couple things. Ashley, are you on still?
Yes, I am.
It seems like the clearing the confusion and setting the record straight, it feels like we maybe have an opportunity to do a better job in explaining on how that is supposed to function. And the questions that get answered, when we have citizens come in and give public comment and they're asking questions, it's, I think rightfully so that they're asking why those are not answered, right? On the setting or clearing the confusion, when I think that it might be helpful to provide an explanation of how that actually functions. Is that something we could do?
Are you asking me if I can explain that right now or prepare something for the next city council meeting?
I'm saying if you could prepare something in writing for the next city council meeting so that people can actually go back and we can publish it so that there is no we're not creating confusion when we're trying to deconfuse the situation.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Also, I am not going to be at the March 4th meeting in person. So Council President Chilton, I just want to make sure that you be here.
It's my husband's birthday.
Perfect. He can come down for his birthday. I have a work obligation. I will not be in the state, but I will be here first. But somebody else could probably take the reins if you would also like. Birthdays are important. I'll let you know. Okay.
Thank you for letting me know.
Yep, and two other things, for topics for later discussion. I really feel that it's important that we revisit what liaisons are actually supposed to, like, if we need them, what they're supposed to be doing. If we actually need them. I think this is a conversation that got brought up in February, around that time period. you know, as long as we're not having a quorum and people just showing up at, you know, planning commission meetings and things like that. But I still come back to the fact that if we have agendas as a council, we're trying to move forward, it's really hard to do that if we're also going to all these meetings, right? And there's a difference between Counselor Hubbard and Counselor Gunderson being at the Romano Capitals or, you know, working with the police station. Those are critical projects that we need to have, special projects. But I just wanted to revisit all of the, like, you know, all the different meetings and things like that, that we have and what we really want that to look like and if we actually need to have them in place. Because I think that there's some dynamics that play along with it, right? And it's fine, but if like you're a liaison for something, then it also becomes one of those things that it's budget season, right? And is there an expectation to fight for that particular department when we should be fighting equally for all departments? We also, I think having like rules or role responsibilities, like I don't think that I'll just use it. I don't think a police liaison should be involved in any disciplinary action. I don't think that a police liaison should be involved in anything to do with that, just the same as if we're over public works. I don't think that we should be involved in those type of things, especially when it comes to collective bargaining agreements or anything of the sort. I think we should revisit what the definition of a liaison is and what those roles and responsibilities are. Anybody have any opposition to that? Anybody have any opinions? Like, I'm not just inventing things to invent them, to do them. I think that when I say things like that, I feel like I'm seeing that there's a potential risk or an opportunity to improve.
I've looked into it a little bit before too, and there are cities that have liaison roles, but they appear to be a lot different than how we've been using them. So a lot of them, they all have a liaison to the Chamber of Commerce or committees outside of the city. Boards and commissions, they do have liaison roles, but not over departments per se. So I think it's worth a revisit.
Perfect. So, and then that would also make it so we could communicate and not have a quorum, but we could also go to joint planning commission meetings, or somebody else could be also engaged in what's going on in police and somebody else could be engaged in library. And, you know, we should all of us collectively up here should know what's going on in the city, not just one department, right? So we should make our best efforts to do that. It's my opinion, but the conversation would be great. My last thing is the youth council. That's on my agenda. I would really like to put something in place by September. I spent quite a bit of time getting with the other, or with many different, actually, let me see here. I've collected 17 different samples for the youth councils, how they operate, the dynamics that go along with that. I have put together even a resolution that goes with it and an implementation plan. And it is something that I would like to see if it's, you know, I know Councilor Sundin, this was actually his idea. I generally just take things and start running with them because that's kind of my mentality. I just get them done. But I'd like to, you know, continue to collaborate with you. My question is, should we work on this together and then bring like the proposal back to council, or do you want to create a work session, possibly a work group, and bring in another council member so we can actually discuss it?
I don't have a preference, I don't think, as long as it's moving in the right direction.
Okay, does anybody have any opinions on if they would like to be involved in building the framework on a youth council? It's one we have to get right, because as we know, some of the council meetings, obviously, we have some struggles with, you know, we need to protect our youth and we need to build out the entire program in an acceptable manner that's healthy for them. So does anybody else want to be a part of this, or would you like us to put together bring it back?
Trust you guys.
Okay. So we will continue to work together and everybody's fine with Counselor Sundin and I working on this. Okay, we'll bring back the proposal for you guys when it is ready. After we kind of vet it out and work all the bugs and back for proposal. So I'm excited about that. And again, that was correct me if I'm wrong, that was one of your goals when you got on council, because I think you shared that with me a long time ago. So I'm looking forward to it. I think we need the youth involved in government. So, perfect. Well, let me see. I don't think I had anything else. That is it. So, with,
Later.
I know. With that, this meeting is adjourned.